One of my complaints in recent weeks about NXT is the fact that it's a little too in-ring wrestling based. And I know that seems like sacrilege to some of you because you love NXT, because it's got a lot of in-ring action, fresh faces, and skip-de-skip and whoop-de-woo. But to me, and this is again just to me, I look at this NXT developmental territory as the territory that, as much as anything else, is supposed to be preparing these guys for the big dance, for the big show, for the WWE. And you're supposed to be getting these characters exposure to your audience on the WWE network, so that way they have a bigger following and more people are familiar with them when they actually make their debuts on Raw or SmackDown, what have you. And maybe to a certain degree, what the WWE is doing here with NXT is what they're doing with the WWE. Let's face it, frankly. If it's a feud involving Cena, a feud involving Orton, and a feud involving Daniel Bryan with that company right now. Everything else is just randomly thrown together matches and a bunch of pointless filler. And that's again what this week's NXT show really felt like to me. You had 5 matches on the card, which is probably one too many, because it's not like, other than the main event, any of these matches got a tremendous amount of time. There are no feuds on this entire show this week. Not a single feud. Nothing. It's just here's a match, then here's a match, then here's a match, then here's a match, then here's a match. There's nothing to really get you emotionally invested in characters other than them just appearing out of nowhere and having a match. There's no backstory to a lot of these characters. There's no further understanding of a lot of these characters. And to me, if you're building to another NXT special event or big show and takeover in a little less than 2 weeks now, you need to do something to actually get people to want to watch this show other than saying, here's a match, here's a match. We got a match for this title. We got a match for that title. We've got a match for that title. And no, to answer your question, just having somebody come out and issue a challenge for the TakeOver show does not constitute a feud by any stretch of the imagination. It just doesn't. And you look at this show, though, you really don't see where there's any attempts to actually really build feuds and actually get over characters. That's what I saw this week. Like, look at the Ascension, for example. You get to the point now where you're just like, okay, they built them into such a monster. They're a talented tag team that probably long since should have already been on the WWE's main roster feuding with the Usos. What's the holdup here? Why do you continue to have these guys toiling down at the NXT level and all the while never really giving them any feuds to actually work off of? Never giving them a rivalry that could actually get them more over, never giving them a rivalry that actually draws people in. The Ascension is a really cool tag team. Connor and Victor have worked hard to get to the point where I feel that they are more than main roster ready. They are WWE Tag Team Champion roster ready right now. But you got to give them something to do. Of course, if you're saying, well, it just mirrors what the WWE does with the tag team division, just a couple of random matches thrown together, and that constitutes a weak-ass feud. And maybe that's what they're doing here with the Ascension. But it's like you watch them, and they're wasting away. And then, what was it, El Local and Callisto, or whatever the fuck their names are, challenged them to a match. That's not a feud. It's like I said, they're using their 3 main belts on the NXT brand to be the drawing points to the show. Well, how about storylines and feuds that actually get us emotionally invested in those title matches as well? It's something the WWE is really missing here. And I think you've gotten to the point with the Ascension on the NXT roster that if anybody beats them at this point, it's not believable. You'd be better off with them just surrendering the titles like you did with Paige for whatever reason with the NXT Divas title and having them just graduate on up to the main roster. Because I'll tell you this much, a takeover, if El Local and Callisto, whatever the fuck their names are, actually beat the Ascension, I'm just going to go to it. I'm just saying. And then you look at this NXT Divas tournament. You got Alexa Bliss versus Charlotte. A solid Divas match, I guess. But again, another match on this card where you've got a newer performer in Alexa Bliss that you're maybe trying to get over. But then you're also trying to get over Charlotte here too. Like, at least you could say with the Ascension, you have the Ascension and then you feed them a couple of unknown jobbers from the NXT ranks. you're giving them squash matches basically to try and get them over to accentuate what they're doing. And to me, that's what you should be seeing more on NXT. One of three things: either a rivalry with a younger guy and a veteran from the main roster, like a Big Show, a Khali, a Kane, a Christian, an Evan Bourne, those type of guys that are veterans that don't really get used much by the WWE. They could maybe come down here and teach these guys something. That's one type of feud. Then you should have either that or another type of feud where you have this young talent versus this young talent, but it's not just a match, it's an actual feud where you're actually trying to develop the characters and you're actually trying to attempt to tell a story. So that way, if one goes over the other, you're not really throwing one under the bus for the other. But too often, that's what happens to me on WWE with this NXT brand, and frankly, it happens with the main brand as well. But you see it here, Alexa Bliss and Charlotte. I get the whole concept. You vacated the Divas title for some ridiculous reason. You're having this tournament, and that's okay. But come on, man. I'm just saying. So Charlotte beats Alexa Bliss. Like I said, solid match. But to get back to my point again, the next match, Mojo Rawley versus Aiden English. Why isn't Aiden English doing a job to Mojo Rawley here? Why have I only ever seen Aiden English on NXT coming out with the spotlight and singing, and that's about it? Show me more about this character. Give me a reason to care about this character. Give him something to do. Give him a fucking feud. Try and actually treat him like he should, in theory, be treated on the main roster as a guy that's actually going to have to help tell a story, be a part of the feud, be a part of a rivalry, and attempt to draw some interest and money with that. Instead, they're doing what they typically do with WWE mid-card guys now. They're throwing two of them together where both of them are trying to get over. You got Mojo, you got Aiden English. Both guys are trying to get their spots in to, most importantly, make themselves look good while maybe trying to help the other guy look good, and neither one of them ends up looking any good. That's what you get. You get Mojo beating Aiden English, and I'm sitting there thinking, why not just feed him unknown NXT jobbers? Why does Mojo have to go over an Aiden English here? Especially, again, if there's no storyline or feud or rivalry or reason for this. Colin Cassidy versus Angelo Dawkins, another example of this. And I like Colin Cassidy. I don't think it'll be too much longer before he's main roster ready. You know, he's got something to him. He's got an ability to connect with the audience. SAWFT. Soft! I love it. I love it. But there was something else going on with this match that to me just reeked of so much in terms of unfilled potential and untapped possibilities. And that's what they're doing with CJ Parker. Now, he is supposed to be this earth-loving, pencil-pushing, tree-hugging, hippie crap type of guy, and yet his name is CJ Parker. That's the first mistake the WWE has. Why not have him be Moonbeam Parker? Does that not sound like much more of an earthy type of, Earth Day type of hippie? Flower petal loving guy. Doesn't that sound more like it? Something like Moonbeam Parker? Doesn't that sound like a name that is more out there and off the wall? And they're having him do this whole protest about no extra toxins and all of this. They need to go a lot farther with this. They need to do little vignettes with CJ Parker, change his fucking name to something like Moonbeam Parker, and then have him go out there and catch people littering and people trying to cram nasty fast foods in his mouth, and actually do stuff with this. You could do this for a long period of time, actually not do anything with him in the ring related at all. Wouldn't even have to do anything with him in terms of an actual rivalry. Eventually you could come back to it and make some type of rivalry out of it with somebody. But you could actually really develop a character here and really develop something interesting. A guy that loves the environment, loves the planet, and hates what mankind has done to it. He could come out and talk about global warming. He could talk about using renewable energy, such as solar and wind and hydroelectric power. He could be doing all of these things. And the best they do is just have him do some lame-ass thing without any real follow-up of him holding up a sign saying no extra toxins. Take food out of the people's hands. If they're eating nachos or hot dogs or something, or drinking a pop, fucking knock it out of their hands. Take it and throw it in the damn ring. Do something. Have a recycle. Yeah, I know he put on this thing that his sign is recyclable. Like I said again, how easy could this be to get a heat on a guy? If a little kid throws a piece of paper and it happens to miss the garbage can, and here comes Moonbeam Parker fucking flipping out at it, basically cussing this kid out for not taking care of good old Mother Earth. Just think about that for a second. There's so much possibility and so many potential things they could do with this character, but wrong name, and I don't think the WWE understands what to really do with it, and it just creates another half-ass character that won't ever really get over. And then we get to the triple threat #1 contenders match. Obviously, the match of the night, and a good match. You've got Tyler Breeze, you've got Sami Zayn, and you've got Tyson Kidd. As far as Tyler Breeze goes, they're emphasizing this fact that he is serious and he didn't want to talk about. Whatever. I won't even get into this stuff. I thought it was interesting how they were trying to package Sami Zayn here as a guy that gets close a lot of times to that brass ring, but he ultimately falls short. It's actually an attempt to tell a story here. What I wish they would have done is they would have had Sami Zayn either get pinned by Tyler Breeze or Tyson Kidd, because that way there's a chance for him either A, to potentially turn heel and see what type of legs you have with that, or B, at least if anything else, give him a real reason for a storyline or a feud. Like maybe, let's say, even Sami Zayn was getting ready to pin Tyson Kidd, and Tyler Breeze came and threw him out of the ring, and Tyler Breeze got the pinfall victory. Well, here you go. Here's a feud between Sami Zayn and Tyler Breeze. Instead, they're telling a little bit of a story with a character, but how are they really going to follow up with this? Is he going to go after Tyson Kidd? Is he going to do that? I don't know. But again, I talk about it. This was a show here. The good thing, like always with NXT, is that it's only an hour long. And you get to see some fresh faces, some new characters, and that always helps. So even when it's not a particularly good show, it helps you get through it. And I'm not sitting here saying this was a bad show this week. It was a relatively easy sit-through for an hour. But again, I'm talking about the fact they're building towards another special event in 2 weeks with TakeOver. You had 5 matches on this card, no real feuds, and you could see it here. Sometimes they're throwing people together that shouldn't be thrown together at this point because they're each trying to get over, and ultimately what happens is nobody gets over. And all the while, it's like they're using their NXT title, their Divas title, and their tag title as the 3 major drawing points of the show. And instead of giving us actual storylines or feuds involving each of those 3 titles at least, they're just saying, here are the titles, and you're just going to watch this match. And that's pretty much, it seems like, all they're doing with having Tyson Kidd win. It's like, it's Tyson Kidd, it's Adrian Neville, the internet's going to love this fucking type of match, and everybody can beat off to it. And I'm sure a lot of you would. And maybe it'll be a beat-off worthy match, I don't know. But I would hope that NXT would start to become a little bit more about giving us rivalries, giving us feuds, doing a better job of developing more characters. So that way, this show to me isn't just an hour-long version of a Raw or a SmackDown where you have those couple of featured things and then everything else is pointless filler, because a lot of what happened on NXT this week to me felt like pointless filler.